that I should hate Dick Thornburg. Now, no one ever told me this that I remember in any overt kind of way at any specific time, but I just kind of knew that. And this chapter will explain how that came to be. I'm going to go ahead to slide number 2. Whether it was World Series tickets or PGA passes, my father was forever after the means of admission.
Next.
Any event deemed big, any venue that glittered, my dad wanted to go there, experience the sparkle, encounter the spin, and he wanted his family to be a part of it as well. So here's what happened. One summer night, sometime during the 70s.
Next.
Sometime during the 70s, Daddy has taken my mother to see Hello, Dolly in downtown Pittsburgh, a highlight of his July being the series of musicals that play at Heinz Hall during the longest and warmest evenings of the year. My parents had just exited the theater, Daddy dashing in his cotton Brooks Brothers suit and striped silk tie, my mother wearing a quilted Dior jumpsuit, sleeveless in pink and teal, a matching fuchsia feather boa, and strappy silver sandals, whose high heels clatter on the sidewalk. Barely a block down Penn Avenue, my dad opens the passenger door of his dark green sedan DeVille, its highly waxed finish reflecting his face in the overhead streetlight. My mother slips past him, a scent of Chanel lingering as she settles on the leather seat, a beaded handbag in her lap. But just as Daddy rounded the rear bumper, nearing one of those oversized potholes that plagued Pittsburgh during that decade, Dick Thornburg approaches, sauntering down the sidewalk from the south on 6th Street, waving his pudgy finger and warning my dad, "I'm gonna get you, Tice McCullough." "Sure, Dick," Daddy responds, sliding into the driver's seat and saluting the then Attorney General for Western Pennsylvania, who sports a big grin and arrogant attitude, huffing and puffing the threat of federal prosecution. The big bad wolf on a Pittsburgh street, determined to blow our house in, and in some cases doing so quite literally, sending FBI agents to break down our steel-reinforced, never secure enough front door. It's true that Thornburg goes on to become Pennsylvania governor and then Attorney General for both Presidents Reagan and Bush Sr., but back then, he is public enemy number 1, at least in my mind, as an 8-year-old, chronically ill-equipped to distinguish the good guys from the bad. Still, Thornburg, as Nixon's senior law enforcement officer for Western PA, takes it upon himself to fight organized crime in the state, especially once he discovers that mafia bosses are paying $4 to $6 million annually to local law enforcement officials to turn their backs on organized crime. The big bad wolf doesn't like this. He's outraged. He huffs. Then Thornburg discovers illegal gambling is funding those payoffs, becoming what he calls the mafia's cash register. He doesn't like that either. Specifically tragic for my family is this. The biggest numbers operation in the state, the one Thornburg sets his sights on, is run by my father's boss. In fact, when on November 21st, 1970, 100 federal agents raid 22 locations across the state, my dad is the only one locked in a room with the supposed kingpin of it all, a man named Bobby Iannelli. Talk about wrong time, wrong place. Here's how it happened. It's 12:25 on a cold, rainy Saturday before Thanksgiving when 4 federal agents jump from an unmarked sedan at 425 Todd's Run Road in Ross Township, a sleepy suburb just north of Pittsburgh. The house raised on a small hill slightly above the street looks like the Brady Bunch abode, brick with clean modern lines and a double-wide wood front door. When overcoated agents knock, Dee Iannelli answers, outfitted in a ruffled pilgrim apron, and begins screaming as soon as Special Agent Scarborough flashes his badge. "Bobby, Bobby, it's the police!" She proceeds to hyperventilate while at the same time blocking the officer's access to the basement with her body. Bleached blonde, helmet hair, and holiday baking notwithstanding, Dee swings a plastic spatula at a second agent who dares push her aside so two others can rush down the stairs two at a time. The family's white toy poodle nips at the heels of the officer, removing Mrs. Iannelli as cookie crumbs from her Tupperware weapon of mass destruction cover his overcoat in a dander of the maniacal Betty Crocker variety. While the second officer reads Dee her rights, a third proceeds up the steps through the kitchen and past that into the pool room, where the smell of chlorine eventually overtakes the aroma of fresh-baked cookies cooling on the counter. In the meantime, Special Agent Scarborough and his partner follow the sound of paper shredding, football blaring, and phones ringing through the basement rec room and into the garage. There, behind what appears to be a pegboard hung with garden tools, Daddy and Bobby Iannelli lob whispered warnings to one another, stopping periodically to answer one of three phones, announcing only, "The police are here," before hanging up and continuing to destroy as much paper as possible. "So there's a room back there?" Scarborough asked. "How the fuck do you get in there?" "Must be a door hidden behind them tools," the other agent offers. As Scarborough and his partner begin ripping the pegboard from the wall to reveal a wrought iron door bolted to both the cement floor and ceiling rafters, the bookies locked in the 3 by 8 foot cement room begin stuffing bets down an industrial-sized garbage disposal. The sound of running water then accompanies the percussion of paper pulsed and grinding. After blunt force alone fails to budge the door, another 15 minutes of dismantling with tools found on the garage's opposite wall reveals yet another door, this one constructed of steel. "Shit, what's up with this?" Scarborough curses. Our friendly federal agents may feel frustrated at this point, but Bobby panics, knowing there is now only a single barricade between them and the looming law of the land. "Look on the bright side," Daddy offers. "It's taking them so long to get in here, they might as well walk around this place for 7 days, like they're the Jews circling Jericho." Sorry. Like they're the Jews circling Jericho. Maybe then the walls will come crashing down on their own accord. He can't help but mock the biblical scale of this ineptitude. Then, when the garbage disposal clogs, Bobby brilliantly offers, "Let's burn the shit." So my father turns off the faucet feeding the disposal, tosses the remaining papers in the sink, and lights a match to the pile, now spilling over the edge, singing to himself the entire time a song we kids had learned in Sunday school, and the walls came tumbling down. "God damn it, Tice, you're going to asphyxiate us before they have a chance to stash our asses in the slammer," Bobby bullies from the far side, as Daddy climbs over him to turn a fan on high on the wall, meant to pull air, and in this case smoke, from the enclosed space. It doesn't work. Daddy climbs down. "Don't tell me you didn't test the thing, wise guy. We're going to be toast here in a matter of minutes, literally." So knowing their jig is up, Bobby pulls the key from his pants pocket and unlocks the door, opening it to the big bad wolf, huffing and puffing and fueling the flames. What's ironic to me now, more than 40 years later, is knowing that those papers, burnt, shredded, or otherwise, didn't mean much in the end. At least not as much as wiretaps would, especially considering the nearly concurrent illegal wiretaps the Nixon administration carried out on the Democratic National Committee at the Watergate office complex. It's no wonder to me 4 decades later that as a child I confused the criminals and their less than virtuous counterparts running the government. If the very administration indicting my dad was legally using wiretaps to accomplish that, while simultaneously using them illegally to win re-election, how did I, as an 8 or 10-year-old, stand a chance of discriminating between right and wrong? Who was the enemy? My dad taking illegal bets, or a puffed-up president of the United States happy to hedge his own, unwilling to